Welcome to Factual America, the channel where we pull back the curtain on the stories that shape our lives and challenge the narratives you hear every day. Today, we're diving into an urgent and controversial issue that affects every American, whether you live in a bustling city or a quiet rural town: the rise in crime rates across the country. What's really going on behind the headlines? Why does it seem like every other news report is about another violent incident? Stick with us, because the truth about rising crime isn't what you've been told. And tonight, we're breaking the silence. First, let's lay out the facts. Over the past few years, the United States has seen a sharp spike in certain types of crime, most notably violent offenses like homicides, shootings, and assaults. According to the FBI's Uniform Crime Reporting Program, the homicide rate jumped by nearly 30% in 2020, the largest single-year increase in modern American history. The headlines keep coming. Carjackings up 200% in major cities, random attacks terrorize local neighborhoods, and so on. But what's really fueling this surge? Is it the pandemic, economic instability, or is there something deeper at play? It's easy to blame the global pandemic. After all, COVID-19 disrupted every facet of American life, created economic turmoil, shuttered schools, and heightened anxiety. Many progressives argue that these social and economic stresses have pushed more people to desperate measures. But even as life returns to normal, the crime wave hasn't subsided. Shouldn't things be improving by now? Or is there more to the story? Let's talk about law enforcement. In the wake of the 2020 protests and movements like defund the police, cities across America slashed police budgets or redirected funding to social services. Officers retired early, recruitment plummeted, and morale sank. Fewer cops on the beat meant slower response times, fewer arrests, and, logically, less deterrence for would-be criminals. You probably won't see the mainstream media talking about this, but the data tells a clear story. As police presence drops, crime goes up. Let's add another layer: progressive district attorneys. Over the past decade, a wave of reform-minded prosecutors has swept into office in cities and counties nationwide. Their mission: to end mass incarceration by eliminating cash bail, reducing sentences for nonviolent offenders, and decriminalizing certain low-level crimes. Sounds good in theory, right? The problem is, in practice, these reforms have often unleashed chaos. Repeat offenders are released back onto the streets within hours. Shoplifting, vandalism, even some assaults are prosecuted with a slap on the wrist, if at all. And the law-abiding citizens? They're left paying the price. You might be asking, but don't we want a fairer justice system? Absolutely. No conservative wants excessive punishment for minor mistakes or for people to rot in jail simply because they're poor. But there's a difference between reform and abdication. When the scales tip too far, when criminals figure out there are no consequences, what happens? We all become potential victims. It's the classic rule of unintended consequences. Good intentions can pave the road to disaster. Let's look at a real-world case study. San Francisco, this city, once world-renowned for its beauty and vibrancy, now grabs headlines for the wrong reasons. Smash-and-grab robberies are so common that luxury stores hire armed guards and keep doors locked during business hours. Ordinary families avoid public transit after dark. Meanwhile, the city's progressive DA, Boudin, faced a recall election spurred by residents' frustration with his soft-on-crime policies. The public's patience, it seems, has finally run out. But it's not just San Francisco. In cities like Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, and Philadelphia, citizens are increasingly living with the fear of random violence and theft. In Chicago, carjackings rose 135% over 4 years. In New York, the subway system, once a symbol of urban resilience, is facing daily headlines about attacks on innocent riders. The common denominator? Progressive leadership refusing to hold criminals accountable. It's a pattern that's becoming impossible to ignore. However, this crisis isn't just affecting big blue cities. Smaller towns and rural areas are feeling the ripple effects too. When law enforcement is overwhelmed or hamstrung by new regulations, criminals become emboldened. Even places once considered safe havens are dealing with drug trafficking, organized theft rings, and brazen daylight robberies. No one is truly insulated anymore. Let's zoom out and consider the broader societal impact. When crime rises, who suffers the most? It's not the talking heads on TV or politicians in their gated communities. It's working-class families, small business owners, and everyday Americans just trying to get by. These are the people hurt when a favorite restaurant closes because of repeated vandalism, or when parents are too scared to let their kids walk to school. Rising crime widens social divides, with wealthier citizens walling themselves off from the chaos, literally and metaphorically, while the less fortunate are left to bear the brunt. Here's a twist that many overlook. Rising crime isn't just about individual safety. It's about eroding trust in our very institutions. When the system can't or won't maintain order, people begin to take matters into their own hands. Vigilante actions, private security patrols, online shaming campaigns. None of these are healthy for a functioning, law-abiding society. If you want evidence, just look at the skyrocketing demand for home surveillance systems, neighborhood watch groups, and even concealed carry permits. Some politicians want to distract us with big national debates about guns, economic inequality, or climate change, anything to avoid confronting the reality right in front of us. But here's the real unspoken truth. You can't have a healthy society without public order. All the social programs and progressive policies in the world don't matter if citizens fear for their lives on the way to work or coming home from school. Safety is the bedrock upon which everything else rests. Now let's talk about media bias, a dirty little secret fueling the crisis. Whenever there's a crime wave, certain networks and major newspapers run interference for progressive policies, labeling demands for tougher law enforcement as reactionary or racist. They cherry-pick statistics to minimize the problem or blame vague social root causes. But spend 1 hour reading local Facebook groups or watching first-hand citizen journalism on YouTube, and you'll see the reality. People are scared, angry, and desperate for change. But here's where things get even stranger. Despite soaring crime rates, many progressive leaders still double down, insisting their policies aren't to blame and warning critics not to politicize tragedy. In some places, city councils have actually voted to further reduce police funding or decriminalize even more offenses. Despite public outcry, it's as if common sense has been put on trial, and common sense is losing. It's tempting to throw up our hands and give in to cynicism. But history tells us that course corrections are possible when the public demands it. Remember New York City in the early 1990s? The Big Apple was once the punchline for crime. Then came the broken windows approach, increased police presence, zero tolerance for quality of life crimes, and accountable leadership. Crime plummeted, tourism boomed, and New York became livable again. It wasn't magic, it was political will. So where do we go from here? The first step is admitting the problem exists. No more sugarcoating, no more political games. We need leaders who will unapologetically support law enforcement, enforce the law, and make public safety priority number one. Is reform needed? Of course. But let's base it on common sense, not wishful thinking. We also need to hold media and elected officials accountable. Demand transparency in crime data and the policies behind it. Get involved in your own community, attend city council meetings, support neighborhood watch programs, push for practical solutions over ideological ones. The more we abdicate our responsibility and let someone else handle it, the worse things get for all of us. But let's not forget the power of culture either. We should champion entertainment, literature, and public messaging that honor heroes, promote integrity, and value order, not glorify chaos or excuse criminal behavior. Our kids learn as much from what they see on TV and social media as they do from textbooks and teachers. Let's make sure they see the right message. Maybe you disagree. Maybe you think progressive reforms are misunderstood or that conservatives are exaggerating the crisis. That's your right. In fact, debate is healthy. But ask yourself, are you safer today than you were 5 years ago? Do you feel more secure in your neighborhood, your local store, your city? If not, who do you think is responsible? And more importantly, what are you prepared to do to demand change? Here at Factual America, we believe in truth, unfiltered, sometimes uncomfortable, and always relevant. The unspoken truth about rising crime is this: it's not inevitable, but it is the result of choices, political, cultural, and personal. If you want safer streets, better schools, and a more prosperous country, it starts with demanding accountability and rewarding those who defend, not undermine, the rule of law. Thanks for watching. Now I want to hear from you. Have you seen a change in safety where you live? Do you agree or disagree with what I've shared tonight? Let us know in the comments below. And tell us what other topics you want Factual America to cover in the future. If you found this video thought-provoking, please like, share, and subscribe to help us reach more Americans hungry for the truth. Stay safe, stay informed, and we'll see you next time on Factual America.